As far as I know, Lange & Söhne is one of the brands which is very emphasized on the decoration. The movement has to be very perfect in the visual, and why the decoration is so important for a Lange & Söhne watch.
It has to do with a couple of things. First of all, traditional elements. You could ask, why are you using gold chatons? Gold chatons were used in the past to protect the natural rubies for the bearings, because natural rubies is very breakable. And if you press them in a German silver, which is very stiff, easily break. So a gold chaton is a 24 karat gold ring with a nice polishing. Press in that relatively soft material, the jewel, and provides it from breaking while working with it. Today, we don't need it. But it's a very important and traditional element, and it's a beautiful element. Imagine the warm color of the German silver, the blue screws, the golden ring of the gold chaton, and then the red ruby. It's beautiful. It's so different than what you normally see, let's say like this. But that's a traditional element, and we're making pieces of art.
We sometimes will heard of a term called black mirror polish, and why exactly the black mirror polish has been applied in the Lange & Söhne watches.
Yeah, black polishing. I'm a watchmaker, and during my watchmaking training, we had a teacher, and he said, it was in the 80s. He said, yeah, there used to be something like that, which was called black polishing. So what is that? Black polishing? Black? And he explained it. And in fact, that was the only thing he could do. He said, yeah, that's a technique which is not used anymore in today's industry. That was in the 80s, of course. When I went to Switzerland as a watchmaker and worked at the other company, René Papi, there I had to do the first time black polishing. And I can tell you, if you've never done it, it's a nightmare. It is a kind of an alloy, a zinc thin block was rectified, and there was a tripod where you fix your part and you do circles. In the beginning you make big circles and then you go smaller and smaller. And every time you look under a microscope with a ring light, so you have light coming in from all the sides, it appears black. That's at least the goal. But before you're there, you must know that the tiniest scratch under that microscope looks like a really thick, fat cat hair in your thing. So I was polishing my first part after, I think, almost a day. I showed it to the guy who trained me at René Papi, and he says, yeah, the polishing is good. But now you polish too much away from the surface. So I took too long. And it's a technique. And each watchmaker has his little recipes how to do it on quick. So that is quite, in the beginning was like, whoa. But that's where the name comes from, black polishing, because the surface is so perfect. It appears black when there's a certain light. Like, for example, the Swiss watchmakers, they were made in Switzerland. The hammers of a repeater, for example, were black polished. Why did they do that? To protect. The polishing is the best protection against rust. The pocket watches were not waterproof or humid-proof. So that's the best way. And like the screw heads, they're also black polished because you're tightening the surface, you're closing the surface, so it's a better protection against the oxidation. That's where it comes from.
So the black polish will be using in certain pieces, or it applies all in the Lange & Söhne watches?
You have different techniques of polishing. The black polishing, really on the thin zinc plate, it is the highest because it takes the most of the time. We have the different techniques, but we use the black polish for many pieces.
It's amazing to know because, yes, as you mentioned, there's so many different polishing skill.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, Lange & Söhne has a huge team for the decoration. How exactly the team size of it?
Oh, the exact number, I think, but it's more than 60, 70, I think.
That's
more than 70 people.
Wow, that's
only doing decoration. And it's really cool because if you go to the department and you ask, they show you exactly what they are doing, and they are flexible. They don't do the whole day the same piece, for God's sake. But it's just they have different skills, of course, but they are doing, and they get a plan how to do it. But the biggest challenge is if, for example, you have a department of 15 people who are doing more or less the same piece. Everybody has his own identity and an own approach of that 45 degrees. So there will be slight differences. We have to check, of course, the differences are allowed, but not too far away. Otherwise, you have from the same kind of piece different executions. But there is difference. And in fact, that is what makes each watch, together with the hand-engraved balance cocks, that makes it, in fact, a kind of a unique piece.
Another decoration from Lange & Söhne, which is very special and different from the rest of the brand, which is a trampoline engraving and also the engraving on the bridges of a balance.
Exactly, the engraving of the balance cock, and so that is a traditional thing. If you look at the old pocket watches from the past, from the beginning, they had that, and that was an element we use also today. We do the engraving a little bit different style as in the early days. The other technique, the tremblage technique, is where we started, and I think it was around 2010. We have very talented engravers here, and they do these balance cocks and tourbillon bridges and sometimes some special wishes. They say, yeah, but you have more ideas. And they came up with it. They showed me ideas of the tremblage, and it looked very cool, but I thought, that's difficult. It's so different than people know. So, we gave them a kind of a platform, which we called the handwerkskunst. The handwerkskunst, pieces of hand craftsmanship. That's a field. So once in a while, we come up with watches with the tremblage dials, and we further extend it because they are enthusiastic and they say, we can do enamel. So we started working on the enamel. And if you look what they are capable of doing today, and for 10, 12 years, it's amazing. And that's good that we will be able to invest to provide that craftsmanship.